Hi, everybody, and welcome to this exciting episode of the Next Level Women Show. I am so excited for my guest today. Her name is Dr. Corey Winn, and she's just an amazing human being. I have been following her for a while now. I've been following her podcast, and she's just doing incredible work in the world. And I cannot wait for you to meet her. Welcome to the show, Dr. Corey.
Thank you so much for having me, Joy. You are just so much fun to be around, and I have been following you for a while as well, and I'm just honored to be here.
Welcome, welcome. I want you to first introduce yourself to my audience and tell us what you do.
So I have two really distinct lanes, which if you don't know me very well, you would be like, really? Both? But I've been a doctor of physical therapy for about 15 years. I specialize in wheelchair seating and mobility now. My uncle had a spinal cord injury, so I also founded a nonprofit in his honor. For those of you who may or may not know about healthcare, insurance doesn't cover a whole lot. So we try and help fund the things that insurance doesn't cover. And then my other incredible passion, the side of the reason why I'm on this show today, is empowering women. So my coaching and consulting business is Her Quantum Rise, and my goal is to work with women like us, kind of in that sandwich generation where we have children, maybe aging parents, we might be going through menopause and pivoting in life, whether that's new job, complete new career, moving from stay-at-home mom into a career, any of those things, but helping women build businesses and legacy and wealth that extends, beyond their generation.
Wow. I think that's one of the things that's drawn me to you and the work you do in the world. So tell us about your entrepreneurship journey. How did that begin for you?
I wish that I had started it long, long ago, but the idea started, or at least the wonder if there could be something different started when my daughter was 6 months old. She crawled for the first time across the bathroom floor, and I was so excited. And I couldn't wait to tell her daycare teacher. And I got there that morning and I was like, guess what she did? She crawled across the floor for the first time today. And she looked at me just straight faced and she said, oh, yeah, she did that yesterday. And she walked away. And I thought, I'm missing so much of her life going to work every day. And until that moment, I hadn't thought of anything different. I went to physical therapy school. I was going to be a physical therapist until I retired at, I don't know, 65. But in that moment, I thought, this isn't working for me. This 9 to 5, 8 to 6, sometimes working on the weekends, late in the evening, it just wasn't working. And I wish I had had the courage to pivot then, but I was too scared. I mean, so many of us, I think Joy, you and I talked about this, so many women are like, well, but I went to school for this. Or what are people going to say if I walk away from my degree? you know, I don't have the skills for anything else. And I hope your audience hears today that they do have the skills. They do have the expertise. They have the capabilities. But true entrepreneurship started about 6 years ago as a health coach. And that really morphed from working with women specifically on their health to a more broad worthiness, embodiment type work that I do now, blending masculine and feminine energy, and then helping give them the structure and stability and automation to then build whatever they're trying to build.
Wow, I love that story so much. I love your journey. And I think that's what makes you an incredible coach. And I think that's why you get your clients the results you get them because you have that experience. You know what it feels like to be afraid, to doubt yourself, and to feel like you don't have what it takes,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's why you are so successful because you are teaching from your own experience. It's not like you're reading from a textbook. You have experienced this and exactly what so many women face, myself included, when I was branching out into running my own business. And I love that you are sharing this today because I know someone is listening and they're like, I don't think I'm cut out to do this. So thank you so much for sharing that. So tell us about how you came to be so confident, beautiful, attractive, all of the
Thank you.
characteristics you have. Like I remember when we had our last conversation, I was telling you, I love your branding. I love the way you show up. You're always so put together. You look like a celebrity. How have you been able to achieve
You're
all of
so
these
sweet.
things and still be a mom?
Well, let me just say, I don't look like this all the time. I still have the messy bun and no makeup and sweatpants. So let's just level set expectations just a minute. I am a normal human. Um, but I do, I go back early on in my life, I was a ballerina for many, many, many years. So I was taught from the get-go how to present yourself, stand up, and that fake it till you make it kind of meme was really how I presented myself. I knew how to stand up straight. I knew how to walk into a room. I knew how to shake somebody's hand with confidence. And I was scared to death on the inside. I mean, so many people laugh at me when I say, no, I'm really an introvert. I don't do great in really big situations. They're like, yeah, okay. But it's really true. And it hasn't really been until the last couple of years through a significant amount of inner work and mindset shift to really embody that woman who it seems like everybody else has been seeing for a long time. So I hope that your audience recognizes that even if you don't feel confident on the inside, how you present yourself can draw people to you. And that brings in mentors, that brings in clients, and then doing the work to recognize your own worth and
Mm.
embodying the woman who has the dreams, already done. That's a lot of the work that I did, recognizing and turning back into your own intuition and your own self-worth.
That is so beautiful. And like, I want you to tell us the work you do with women and how you help women get results, the embodiment of wealth, of success that you help women get to. Tell us, how do you help people go from, I want to say, zero to hero? Like someone comes into your world and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this. I feel like an imposter. Walk us through what you've seen in your clients and how they've evolved to what they are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always start with the first question, what do you want? And it has fascinated me over the years to see so many women not be able to answer that question because so long they've done what their spouse needed, they've done what their kids needed, they've done what work has needed, and all of these other things, all of their other roles. They look at me and they say, nobody's ever asked me that. So peeling back the layers of do you love your job? Are you in a relationship that is um, helping you move forward? And I don't necessarily just mean like an intimate relationship, but the people that you surround yourself with. But really getting to the what's that little voice inside your head that's been saying, I want to do this, or I want to be here, or I want to create this thing since maybe you were 5 or 6 years old. Can we start listening to that now? And what steps can we take to move through to get to that goal? And I decided several years ago that I didn't want anything in my life that didn't set my soul on fire. And that meant that some relationships came and went. That meant that some job opportunities came and went. But starting with the foundation of this is who I am, this is what I want, and we're going to move forward in that direction, then I can help you with strategy. I can help with the embodiment work and we do all of those things, but it's getting incredibly clear from that first moment, who are you and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Wow, that's so powerful. So you start with them identifying what they want. And I love that question because the first time my coach, Brooke Castillo, asked me that question, well, it was in a group coaching setting, and she said, how much do you want to make? For many of us, we were kind of taken aback and we were like, I thought my employer determines how much I make. And she goes, no, you can decide what you want from life. And just the way she helped me to see that I can have agency
Mhm.
over what I want and what I attract into my life, that completely changed my life. So I so appreciate that you asked that question because yes, like many women, we do not think that what we want is possible for us, right? So that's so
Or we have
profound.
that voice inside our heads that says, "Who are you to do that?" That was the voice that I let guide my life for so many years. Who are you to do that? Who are you to open a coaching and consulting business? Who are you to start a nonprofit? You can't do that. Why not? And so I hope that our listeners also hear to go from first, what do you want? And then to, but what if you could? Because if we can work through those limiting beliefs and get out on the other side of it, you're really unstoppable.
Yes, so unstoppable. So tell us, how did you kind of figure things out, right? So looking at you now and all the success you created, take us back to that moment when you decided to be a health coach. How did you like create clients? How did you make money? Like, what was that evolution for you? Like, because many people are listening and they're like, is it possible to make money doing an online business? Is it really possible? So,
Yeah.
so walk us through your journey. How did that evolve for you?
For that specifically, I needed to fix my health as well. I mean, you assume, or at least a lot of us do, that healthcare professionals are inherently healthy. Well, I wasn't at the time. And so I decided to work on my own health and in the process began working with other moms in my same situation, had just had children, or maybe it had been a few years since you'd had children and you just weren't feeling yourself anymore. And through that process, I began to recognize it wasn't the health program, it wasn't the diet, it wasn't the plan. But if the women themselves didn't feel worthy of taking care of themselves, of being a healthy person, then the self sabotage always came back. So that was really the moment that I pivoted and thought, I don't want to just be a health coach. I want to work with women at a high level who are wanting big things in their lives, but from a space of they are worthy and capable and able to do that. So I hired my own coach and invested heavily in myself for my own growth, my own knowledge, so that then I could take that knowledge and connect with clients in that space. And that's, having a networking event, participating in um, talks, speaking, all of those things. When I've been invited to a group, yes, I go. And it's to build relationships first. And that's what brings clients to you. None of us, I don't want to make a broad generalization. I don't like people showing up at my door. I don't like cold calls. If I didn't ask you, if I didn't ask you for something, I don't want it. I mean, that's brutally honest. So I would expect too that the women who I'm looking to work with also don't want those things. So
Mm,
I'm here to provide value and know that continuing in relationship and reaching out with things that I think would be helpful, that's how I brought clients into my business.
oh my gosh. Like, I love you so much. Like, I'm gonna get emotional because when I started, I didn't believe that it was possible to attract clients. And I hired an Instagram coach, paid 10,000 to her. And then when I got into her program, her methodology was to cold DM people. And I tried that. It didn't work because I personally, I do not respond to cold messages. If I do get cold messages, it just goes into spam or delete. And
Right.
so I tried it, it didn't work. And so just looking back now and hearing you talk about this, I cannot believe that now people DM me to ask about working with me. It's like at the beginning, it was unbelievable for me. And so I love how you said that you attract the kind of clients you want to work with. And at first, it was so vague in my mind. I didn't believe it was possible, but I am testament that it is so possible that we can do the inner work, do the worthiness work, just like you said, and get ourselves to the place where people actually reach out to us, ready to work with us. It's
Yes.
so beautiful. And I want you to teach my audience how, like, it's almost impossible for you to tell us how, unless people work with you, I know. But tell us how you got yourself there. I know you said you hired coaches, and that's exactly what I did too. I invested heavily in coaches, people who had gotten the results I was looking to get, and
Mhm.
me learning from them just skyrocketed my growth. So
Yeah.
for those people listening to us right now, you need to find mentors who can
Mhm.
believe in you even before you believe in yourself, and
Yes.
who can give you the knowledge that you need and help you do the inner work to get to that place where you start attracting clients. So
Yeah.
please, Dr. Corey, tell us in your experience, how have you been able to get to that place?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First, you have to be incredibly clear on your messaging and what your, say, your coaching or your product or whatever you're looking to sell or create is very easy to follow. You want to be social on social media, but you want to be incredibly clear when somebody looks at what you're doing, they're not like, I don't, well, okay, well, that's great, but I'm moving on. So you want it to be incredibly clear how people can work with you or how they can buy your product. You cannot make money if people can't pay you. I mean, that is just how it is. If there's too many steps or too many, click here, now go over here, you're going to have lost them. So being incredibly clear and upfront about what you're doing, and then put yourself in rooms where those people are. You know, go to conferences, go to networking events. I'm part of an incredible women's CEO networking group. And I just kind of stumbled upon it. And there's so many different ways to find things like that. But for people like me who are arguably scared of strangers a lot of times, that's a huge hurdle that I had to overcome. And I had to work on myself to really believe I can own this room and I belong in this room. And I think that's where a lot of women sell themselves short is they don't truly believe in the value of either the coaching that they have to offer or the product that they've created and how it changes people's lives. So, first, believing in yourself and what you're doing, and then allowing people to connect with you easily.
Wow, I love that so much. And yes, I can so relate to the part where you said people like we not believing in the value we bring. And that's exactly what happened for me when I first started. Obviously, I hadn't coached anyone. So even though I was showing up online, I wasn't convincing. But the moment I started signing clients, my confidence just went through the roof. So I
Mhm.
always tell people the only way you're going to know the value you have is when you get people results. Because
Mhm.
when you do that, then you're going to explain the transformation so clearly and you're going to be so confident. Thank you so much for that. I want to
Yeah.
ask about niche drama. This is something that so many people struggle with. And I want you to speak to that because like you obviously are in a niche that I feel like God designed for you, like because you are like the perfect person to help people with this wealth embodiment. So tell us, how did you land on this niche? I know you said you started with health coaching, but how did you find this niche, or how did this niche find you?
Well, to be brutally honest, my whole life I've liked nice things. I liked things that sparkled. I liked the bigger, the better, I did. And I did not at all grow up poor, but we didn't have those things. And for the longest time, I made myself wrong for wanting more than that. Why can't I just be content? Why can't I settle for these things? And on the other side of that, I have such a giver mindset that anytime there's a charity that I believe in or a friend who's going through something, I want to provide a meal or send flowers and to have that income that allows me to, without thinking, do that thing. That really drove me because there's a ceiling in healthcare. I don't know how many of your listeners are in healthcare, but there's only so far you can go. So as an entrepreneur, really the sky's the limit. And that's really what started catapulting. Like, I want these things in my life. I want this legacy left for my daughter. I want to be able to travel and do these things. without worrying about it. That's really where that niche started. And then surrounding myself with other women who felt the same way and held that same goal. And I don't necessarily mean, you have to want to be a millionaire. You have to want to, that's not what I'm saying at all. There's a monetary wealth impact level that we all have, and none of us have the same one, and that's fine. But being able to do with your life and create the life that lights your soul on fire, that's what I wanted to create because we only have this short time on earth.
Mm. Wow, that's so beautiful. And I can relate to what you said about there's so much we can get from healthcare. Um, because sadly, I have a friend, is actually in the US and he's going through cancer at the moment. And he told me that just one of the drugs he has to take is $2,000 per week. That's the cost of the drug. And he's now having to pay out of pocket for that. And so it just breaks my heart that he's going through this. And apart from the emotional stress of having to deal with cancer, to have this financial burden that he's having to deal with. So I can definitely relate to what you said. And for me, just like you, just the capacity and the ability to give just makes me so fulfilled. And I feel like I'm living my life's purpose. So thank you so much for that. I want you to talk about the charity work you're doing and how you got involved with that.
So my foundation is called the Carl Edward Foundation, and Carl Edward was my uncle. He passed away not this past December, but December of 24. And he suffered an injury that left him with a spinal cord injury at the age of 19. So for 55 years, he lived with a spinal cord injury. And in the late 60s, early 70s, the Americans with Disabilities Act hadn't been passed. There weren't ramps, there weren't elevators, there weren't ways to access a lot of things. And I remember him wanting to go to college where my mom had gone, NC State, and obviously there were stairs in all of the buildings. And he said, "Well, how am I going to get to class?" And they said, "Oh, well, the football team can carry you up the stairs." And he said, "Absolutely not." So he didn't go. And I think back and the ripple effect that that had, the literal shutting of the doors on him, and then watched him kind of navigate the world after that. And when I went to PT school, like I said earlier, I was a dancer and I loved basketball. I worked with women's basketball in college. So I originally was going to be like a high level sports PT, wanted to work with the NBA or, American Ballet Company, whatever. And then I had a rotation in neuro, and that was it for me. And all of my career, in one way, shape, or form, I've worked with progressive neurological diseases or patients with spinal cord injuries. And December of 2024, right before my uncle passed away, I said, you know what? I'm doing this nonprofit. I'm making the decision. We're going to do this. I have no idea. I have no experience in nonprofit work other than donating. And my uncle was hospitalized that same weekend that I made the decision, and he died the week after that. And I thought, okay, well, now I really have to do this. And as much as I wish he was still here today, there are so many parts of his story that I know I couldn't share if he was still alive because he was an incredibly private man. But all of my career, I've worked with wheelchair seating and mobility and written the letters to the insurance companies to justify all the pieces and parts of the wheelchairs, the equipment that they need in order to go back to work, in order to leave their homes, in order to live independently. And so often it's denied, or part of it's denied, or now you need a power wheelchair that's 350 pounds, but you need a van to transport it because you can't break it down. You can't put it. And so those are the things that insurance doesn't cover. So our foundation exists to help with the cost that insurance doesn't cover, the extra copays, the equipment that insurance doesn't cover, the van modifications, the ability for these people, these beautiful humans, to live in their homes as independently as possible and also go back to work, go to their children's baseball games, go to back to their spiritual services. Because what people don't recognize is the world can become very small if you can't leave the four walls of your home. So that's why we exist.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. And it's just an incredible work you're doing in the world. So someone is listening right now, they want to contribute to the work you're doing, the foundation. How can they find out more and how can they contribute?
You can just go to our website. It's thecarledwardfoundation.org. There's information there, how to donate, how to get involved. That's all you need to do.
Amazing. I'm gonna check it out too. And when you talked about not being able to leave the four walls of our home, the world can really get small. And like I don't know why the universe allowed me to experience this, but it must have been a month ago. I was shoveling snow and I broke my back with the like it was a snowstorm and we had snow all day, but because I had to take my daughter to school, I had to keep shoveling the driveway because if you don't shovel the driveway and it hardens, it's gonna be terrible.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
had to keep I had to keep up with shoveling, but the movement I made, I think I sprained something in the back, and for over 2 weeks I just couldn't leave the bed. Like the pain, I couldn't bend, I couldn't stand, like horrible. And it made me realize, oh my goodness, I have lived such an amazing life that I never really understood what people who cannot move from their bed, who cannot walk. So when you mentioned that, I can so relate to people who sadly are going through tough experiences in life and they are just confined to a very small space. And so I hope listeners go and contribute to the foundation to um, kind of elevate the work you're doing in the world. And I am just so blessed to have met you, Dr. Curry. I
Thank
want to,
you.
you're welcome. I want to go back to the work you do with women with embodiment, wealth empowerment. Tell us for those people who are like, oh my gosh, I want to work with Dr. Corey. Tell us what your current offers are so people can take the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I offer like a 1 day business building intensive where we really sit down and clarify what you're working on, create strategy, and then create a business plan and content and the automations needed to get that going. So often women are like, well, but I don't know how. I am here to help with the how, not only the embodiment and getting you clear on what you're doing, but don't let yourself be stopped by the how. And then building on that, I offer group coaching in like 3 month increments twice a week, as well as one-on-one intensive 12 session coaching. So you can go to my website, herquantumrise.com, and find out about it, or you can message me on Instagram at Corey Winn DPT, and I would love to just hop on a free call and see what I can do to help you. Um, if you want to go straight to a free call, www.coreyWinn.com/free call, and we can talk about all the things.
I love that so much. So, listeners, I'm going to grab all of those links. I'm going to put them in the show notes if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and it will be in the description if you're watching us on YouTube. Dr. Curry, I want you to first tell us how do you keep up with, like, how do you keep your mindset at this level? What's your mindset practice like?
First off, I focus on my sleep, which for any of you who are in the world of perimenopause, that can oftentimes be very difficult, but that is something that is non-negotiable for me. If I don't sleep, I can't show
Mm.
up. So that's first and foremost. And then for me, getting out in nature, whether that's sitting on the back porch and just being in the quiet, going for a walk, but it's taken me a while, probably a number of years to really figure out, okay, what fills my cup in order for me to show up this way. I love to read, I love to sit in front of the fireplace and drink my coffee. Those are all beautiful things, but for me, it's getting outside and really truly stepping out of my house and getting away from the work, away from the busyness of my household sometimes, and being alone. And
Mm.
having grown up as an only child, I didn't realize until I was an adult and had kiddos. And when I first got married, our bonus kiddos live with us. They're grown and out of the house now, but how loud the house was and how I didn't have any quiet time. So that is really key to my success for me to be completely alone in a quiet place to let my thoughts get downloaded because otherwise I'm too distracted and the ideas don't come.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I feel like you're my sister I never knew about because that's exactly how I function. Most days I have to shut everything up and go lie down upstairs in the dark. I have dark curtains, and when I pull my curtains, it doesn't matter the time of day, my room is just pitch black. And that's the best time for me. And just wanting to be by myself. And when I go out on walks, I intentionally turn my phone off and then I get lost. I want to get lost. So I keep walking to get lost. And then when I'm done getting lost, I put back my phone back on and then I use the GPS to come back home. Like it's just the best way I reconnect with myself, reconnect with God. And it's just so fascinating that that's how you function as well. Last question. I can't believe that like we're at time now. Like I feel like I can go for another hour, but last question. Look back to your 21-year-old self. What would you tell
To not
her?
settle,
Tonight, settle. Mm,
to not
tonight,
ever just sit
just sit
because it was
because it was
comfortable
comfortable.
without, really
Really
going
going
through
through
what you're wanting to do. Like
like
I look back and see so many times where I could have jumped or I could have done the things and I didn't because I was scared. So don't be afraid to take that step because in the end, what's the worst that can happen? You
mm,
aren't going to die. You try a launch and it fails, you're still alive. You can try again. You create a product and it doesn't land like you thought it was going to, you're still alive. You can try again. And so being afraid of not trying held me back for a really long time.
wow. Mic drop moment there. Same for me as well. In that time when I think back, the launch failing was like the world that ended. And I was so afraid. So I was so judging of myself, and I know people go through this all the time, and I think that's timely advice to face our fears and take action regardless.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been a joy having you on the show, Dr. Curry. Any last words for my listeners?
Take a moment each day and really sit with what's bringing you joy and what's draining your energy and see if you can add more things each day that bring you joy.
Love that so much. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Curry. It's been a true privilege having you on the show. May God bless you.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be here today.